welcome to Kaplan's Career Goals. Today I'm joined by special guest and a tech guru, Sharif. She is a self-taught, multi-award winning software engineer who works in fintech. So welcome Asia, and would you like to give the audience a bit more information about yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, so as you said, my name's Asia. I'm a multi-award winning software engineer, as well as the founder of Chainverse, which is a recent startup that I founded back in 2022, which aims to revolutionize prison communications by providing simple, secure and affordable communications to loved ones and prisoners. And as well as that, I'm also an engineering mentor. I deliver workshops and talks to empower women and inspire women and people from young generations to get into technology. And that's a little bit about me.
Amazing. So am I right in saying that you went into software development, was it 2021?
Mm-hmm.
Not long ago.
Yeah.
So are you from a tech background at all? Have you always been interested in that area?
So I've always been interested in how things worked and, you know, how they built these things or wrote code, for example. However, I never came from a technology background because when I was younger, I grew up loving writing and reading and I guess the more creative side than using like the logical problem solving analytical side of like my brain. So since I was so much into creativity and writing and reading, I kind of wanted to align my career goals with that, as whatever I'm good at, I wanted to follow my passion. And at the time, I decided to go into law. So I studied law at university and I actually dropped out second year. So I did want to become a barrister, but unfortunately, like during my time at university, I had quite a few, like, I guess a revelation, a realization that university was not for me, number one. It was like my personal choice. I wanted to change like the trajectory of my life and do something that is for me. So I experienced it, it wasn't for me. I didn't see how these exams would help me become like the best barrister that I could be to help empower and change. I guess not only empower and help like young people, people of color and underrepresented backgrounds and people who go through like any sort of like horrendous situation. That's my whole goal of like becoming a barrister. I wanted to defend them and I guess protect them because I'm an empath. But I thought like, I don't think I can see myself becoming a barrister, but I can see myself trying something else that would still have the same end goal. So my end goal like never changed, and which is like to make a difference for the greater good. So as I like excelled my career in sales, the more I excelled, the more I realized I'm the only woman that's always like at the top with like the directors and like any of the top sales people. They were always males, and I thought I want to start my own company and we're only going to focus on recruitment of women, people of color, people from like underrepresented backgrounds, and like giving opportunities to like certain like economic backgrounds that, you know, like low class backgrounds. So I actually registered a company called Raw Fundraising, funnily enough, in 2020. But unfortunately, lockdown happened. So this is like when I moved to London. I was ready to take my career off. I was still self-employed, and then I wanted to go like fully a limited company. But unfortunately, lockdown happened. And when lockdown happened, I kind of found myself in a pickle because I'm not a person that can just sit at home and do nothing.
Yeah.
Like I just physically, like I don't feel that my life is fulfilled. So during my time in lockdown, I had like a lot of reflective time, a lot of time to like go to the gym and just like spend a lot of solitude. And I tried my best to fulfill these 24 hours, but because my heart like yearned to like make a difference to anything, like whatever it was, I guess over time I found myself where I wanted to like figure out what I wanted to be. So how I ended up in technology, funnily enough, was I was actually Googling what the hardest thing to do was to pass time, because after going to the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning and the gym was in the building and doing everything else like self-care that I needed to do, it was like 10 a.m. by the time I was done. So I'm like, I have this entire day to just, what am I meant to do? And I even deactivated social media because I really wanted to be in solitude and to figure out my life, especially in such like horrendous times. So it came up like programming, and I also seen that only 0.1% of the world code at the time. I think it's a lot more, that's like 0.5%. But out of that 0.1%, it was literally less than 10% were women, and out of that 10% of the 0.1%, it was like 5% were people of color, like women of color, and I was gobsmacked. So I thought, yes, here's my passion, like helping women like me who come from underprivileged backgrounds, who come from, you know, like foster care, who come from like poverty. I can make a difference now because I can show like others that there's still, they might, even if you lose one side career, you can find another one.
I can't believe you've just like all of that you learn. Obviously you've got your career history prior, but your knowledge in software development came from essentially being bored in COVID. Like the way that you challenged yourself, like in lockdown, I made it my mission to watch all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe films in order on Disney Plus, while there was people like you that was like, I'm going to change the world. That's just, it's really commendable. But I just want to go back to what you were saying about, because you said, is it Chambers where it's to help with prisoners?
Yeah.
And then obviously your initial goal was to be a barrister. Do you think that's kind of the seed that started this?
I always believe that people do deserve a second chance. Not everybody, definitely not everybody, but at least 90% of people who sit in that prison definitely do deserve a second chance. And for me, I think if you're going to change people and help with rehabilitation, you need to provide, again, that environment for them to be able to rehabilitate. So when I found my unfortunate family member in prison, and we were trying to stay in communication with him, it was so difficult. For example, the platforms that are out there, horrendous platforms. They were so ugly to look at, number one. I'm not a web developer or designer, I'm sorry, but they were so ugly to look at, very hard to maneuver. And I just thought this isn't really good user experience, first of all. Extremely expensive. Just to send an email, for example, you'd be paying like £1, £2, £3, and some people don't have that, especially in lockdown. And you can imagine how many people during lockdown were trying to stay in contact with their loved ones, but they couldn't afford to. A video call would cost anywhere from £20 and above, and that's just one video call a week. And I just thought, no, we can do better than this, because at the end of the day, they're still humans and they still need to stay in contact with their loved ones, regardless of the situation. So that's kind of how, like, I guess I still, with wanting to be a barrister and obviously defend people, help people, especially people who are innocent, or maybe their case might not be fair, but also like merge it with technology and be able to provide like secure, affordable and simple communication, which is where we're trying to go now. So currently we're in like pre-seed stage, just an investment funding stage at the moment. We'd finished our first accelerator program last year, and now we're going on to our second accelerator program to help accelerate the company, as well as partnering with prison charities, so we can get like user testing and try and get it out there, because at the end of the day they deserve to be rehabilitated and communication, and that's what we want. And I guess technology now is like becoming so ever evolving. You can apply it anywhere in the world, and especially such like underrepresented industries like the prison industry. So yeah.
Right, so we're going to play a game called Never Have I Ever. Have you ever played that game
Yeah,
before?
I have.
We have a paddle.
Okay.
And what I'll do is I'll read a statement, and it's really simple. If you've done it, I have. If you haven't, I haven't. And then hopefully we'll reveal some truths. So,
Okay, thank you.
Are you ready to play?
Yeah, okay.
So never have I ever bailed on a meeting last minute. I was going to say, like, in terms of, like, I know that you're very busy, and I think you've covered a bit of that anyway with everything that you're doing, but how do you actually find the time for yourself in terms of, like, for your own wellness and stuff?
So how I do it now, and I'm so glad I've built this habit, but I literally start my days at 5:30 in the morning,
Every
5:30
day.
or 5 a.m. every single day consistently, apart from Saturdays and Sundays at 7 a.m. but 5:30 or 5 a.m. through the week, and during that time between 5 and 8:45 a.m. to be specific, I spend that time going to the gym, deep cleaning the apartment, taking some time to like read and meditate. I try and stay off my phone as much as possible, so no scrolling on TikTok, none of that, because it's just so negative for my brain, especially when I know that I have a very long day ahead of meetings, mentoring, my 9 to 5. You know, after my 9 to 5, I need to focus on like my business. After my business, like I focus on like mentorship, and for example, if I've got upcoming talks, I have like so much planning to do. So I actually live by something, a checklist, like Trello board, which is extremely organized. It's like crazy. If you've seen it on my phone, like you won't believe it. So that morning routine like sets me up for the day. And by the time it's 8 o'clock, I'm like, wow, I've accomplished so much, as well as my own well-being, like my sanity, my time for meditation and prayer. So like that's how I kind of keep on top of my like well-being. But I think it's super important, because otherwise, if I didn't do that, like I said, I learned the hard way. I hit burnout like really bad, and I had to literally stop everything and take a week where I just slept for like 5 days, and it's very unhealthy. It happens once, twice max. Don't let it happen a third time, because it's just not good for the brain or body.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, because obviously, and like it seems like as soon as you wake up, it's like, yeah, go, like. But you have just mentioned then about burnout, but is there ever a day where you just wake up and you just think like, oh, I can't do it today?
Yeah, I'm like obsessively like hyperactive after 9 a.m. But between 5 and 9, I'm like calm in my meditative state. I'm in the gym and praying and whatever, and like reading, and like I journal a lot, and then I get my Trello board ready, and once it gets to like 8:45 and I see like this entire Trello board, because I have such a massive goal, I just can't stop thinking about that goal. Like it's like in my subconscious 24/7.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like when you kind of need that motivation, or that, like you've just said, like a goal like to aim towards,
to push you,
that gives you a reason to get up every morning and do what you're doing. I mean, so the next one is, never have I ever had imposter syndrome.
Yeah, of course, I'm in tech.
From kind of COVID, when you're teaching yourself, and I can imagine you didn't have much help when there's no one really around. How did you go from that, like square one, to getting that job on your own?
Yeah, so I actually was enrolled in boot camps, which was really good. Yeah, so the first one, like I said, was Sky, and that was a 16-week software engineering boot camp. It enabled me to learn like the foundations about app development, full stack development. I managed to meet other females who wanted to get in technology too, who are all my friends now. Like, it's so cool. And we managed to build a project together and like build up our like first bit of portfolio on GitHub, it's called. So that would like enable like recruiters, when they look at my CV, they're able to click on my technical portfolio and see obviously some projects that I did with the team. From then, so I had my first certificate then. Another boot camp I applied for was a blockchain engineering boot camp, and a community called Coding Black Females actually provided this for 2 women of color, and a company called Consensus. It's like the world's leading Ethereum company, and they provided a full scholarship where you would learn blockchain engineering with other engineers, and it was amazing. And so that was my second boot camp. I did another boot camp, just a course, again with Coding Black Females. This was completely free as well, all of them. And that was for 4 or 6 weeks, and that was machine learning. I just tried different technologies, so there's different pathways. You know, you could be a machine learning engineer, a blockchain engineer, a software engineer, and I just thought, I don't know what I want to be, so I'll try each one. And lastly, what actually got me my role was another community, and they're called Code First Girls. And they're amazing. They've helped thousands of women around the world. They have programs in the UK. Now they provide boot camps for women and non-binary in technology. So you could either do software engineering or app development or full stack development, which are different pathways in technology, but still technical roles. And you get to pick a company, and many companies sponsor it, such as Skyscanner, if I'm correct, NatWest, Goldman Sachs, so many big companies that we've heard of. And what this means is, if you're accepted onto the boot camp, you do it for 12 weeks. 12 to 16 weeks, and once it's done, you actually start a role with that company, which is amazing. Whereas the traditional way would be like, do your application, do your first interview. Like tech interviewing is like very intense. Do a day assessment, do a technical interview, do an architecture interview, and hopefully if you get onto it, they pick you and you start with them. So yeah.
Oh, that's some really good resources, especially for people who are looking to get into the industry. There's plenty there. I think some of the stuff that you've just mentioned, like obviously I'm not tech savvy at all, but like even things like the kind of cryptocurrency names that you were mentioning, and like machine learning and stuff, and it's like they're the keywords that come up all the time. Like that's where the jobs are, that's where the future is, and I feel like you've just nailed it. Like, you've been like, well, I'm going to learn everything that's needed to be at the forefront of that wave. Like,
and the most important thing I think is get a mentor. Like for me, Black Girls in Tech like changed my life. When I struggled in 2021, a lot of my friends I met at Sky, they all got offered a role on the back of Sky, and I could have also got offered a role, but something like told me like, no, this isn't for you. You want something bigger. Sky is amazing, but it was something like, I just don't believe that this company and job aligns with me for my personal reasons. As amazing as they are, and I couldn't wait to start my first role, I just felt like, am I going to accept this offer if I do go ahead with the interview just because I did a boot camp with them? I haven't explored anywhere else because it's my first ever boot camp, and I was so grateful. And I'm the type of person, I need to explore before I say yes, or even go ahead with the interview. So when they offered us interviews, I was like, am I going to regret this? I really desperately want to change careers, but I said no. And thankfully I ended up like actually experiencing so many other different like boot camps and technologies, and now like the company that I work for, NatWest, they're like everything just aligned in time. But I got a mentor during that time, straight from me declining the interview with Sky with Black Girls in Tech, and her name was Philippa Rodney. And I remember saying to her in our first meeting, I can't believe I declined the interview. And she was like, no, but that's great. There's so many doors. It doesn't matter. Like sometimes you have to say no, because I thought I'm so early in my career. But again, it taught me the power of no. It doesn't matter. Like I guess it was imposter syndrome, because I thought, no, this is the first opportunity I got as a boot camp, and I come from a non-tech background. I will never get onto another boot camp again. Like that was my mindset at the time. So I need to go ahead with the interview because there could be a chance I could get a role. But instead, I was like, no, let me try. And I got onto boot camps. I even got scholarship, you know. So yeah, mentor was key. She changed my like entire like trajectory basically, and gave me that plan and that guidance, and I was able to be inspired.
So we're going to move on now to industry myths. What I'll do is I'll read out a statement. It may or may not be a myth. That's completely up to you. I just want to know your views about it, and just so that the viewers at home can learn a bit more about software development.
Okay, yeah.
So the first one is, software development is always expensive.
Well, you know, some people take different routes. Some people go to university and study computer science, then of course that's going to cost you an arm and a leg to pay for university fees. And then if you do choose a software development pathway, then you know you've got all the university fees that you do have to pay back. If you don't go the traditional way and you go non-traditional like I did, and you go to boot camps, thankfully we live in a world where it's, you know, they help so much now with like diversity. So there is boot camps out there for free, and the government actually even provide boot camps and apprenticeships for young people to get into tech roles or non-technical roles, but within technology, tech companies or fintech companies. So again, that's free boot camps, free education. Or YouTube online, completely free. You can literally do it on your phone. You can download the editor, learn on there, and press play on YouTube. There's amazing instructors. It's all free, so I guess you can make it expensive. However, if you do want to like the kind of environment, and you can't seem to find like a boot camp for yourself, but the one that you did find that you align with does mean you have to pay for it, then I say go for it, as long as you feel that you align with it. But there's 99% of them are free.
Yeah, exactly. And it's your future at the end of the day. So it's like, is it expensive if it's going to... I always say when people are working towards their kind of goal, it'll pay off in the end anyway.
Of course,
like
yeah.
they'll get the money back. So the next one is ChatGPT will make programmers obsolete.
No, ChatGPT is written by programmers. Obsolete means vanished, right?
Yeah, like
non-existent. No, so AI can only work with humans. You know, like we write the code and we tell the AI like what to do, how to act. It doesn't have its own brain. It's literally a piece of hardware. What it can do is it can enhance our development. It can help us with testing. Like for example, recently I've been working on a complex module, and I can consistently get stuck, and as a human being I can only see so much like where I'm stuck, and it can be as simple as a syntax error. So like I put the comma in the wrong place. Now with the help of ChatGPT, if I ran my code through ChatGPT and I'm like, hey, please, you know, AI, please tell me what syntax error I have here, within like 0.1 second, you know, he's going to be able to see it, because I can't see it with the human eye, because either I looked at my computer for too long for 5 hours, and sometimes you need that like second pair of eyes, which you can do with another developer, and that always happens on a day-to-day basis. Or instead of messaging, by the time you message the other developer, by the time they read the message and jump on a call with you, I've already asked ChatGPT, do you know what I mean? I've already got my answer. So they can only enhance your work, your software, your testing especially, because with every piece of software that you do develop, you can't just deploy, you have to test. And not all software developers or engineers have testing backgrounds. Like I most certainly don't have testing background. I learn on my day-to-day basis, but implementing something like ChatGPT can really help with providing like test cases to help test the software. So yeah, so it would only enhance us as humans and as developers and as people. It would never make it obsolete.
Yeah, I think that's a very good answer, and I think a lot of people that will be watching, I know that there is those concerns about AI taking over the world. So it's nice to hear from a developer.
I think it's because of lack of education. The more we educate, the more people realize, like, for example, for the AI to keep going, you need AI engineers. So yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us today and taking some time out of a very busy day, I can imagine. But before we let you go, we always ask one last question. And what does career goals mean to you?
Passion. I feel like as long as you're passionate about something, you will always have a motivation. Like you said earlier, you touched upon having that fulfillment to wake up every day, that motivation, that drive. And I think career goals for me is, what am I passionate about? What can I get through? Like that you have perseverance to get through. And as long as it's to do with my passion, something I care about, then any career goal, it could be anything. Tomorrow I could want to be a painter, and I promise you I will become a painter because I'm so passionate about it. So yeah, passion.
Oh, I love that. You literally one of the most inspirational people I've ever met in my life. So
I appreciate you.
Honestly, but thank you so much for joining us today. And if you found Asia's story inspirational, remember to head over to Kaplan's website at www.kaplan.co.uk and check out our software development apprenticeships on the data and technology page. Remember to like, comment and subscribe on our YouTube channel, and we'll see you soon.